Hi everyone, welcome back. I wanted to walk through the setup process that I go through with my saw, beginning with taking off the cover. I also have created a lock block for my sawmill as well. I probably don't have to worry about it, but I created this lock block and use a rather heavy-duty lock on the saw head structure. Probably a little bit over the top to create such a security system for my sawmill, but I'd prefer to be safe than sorry. Among the first tasks is topping up the lubrication system. This time of year, being below zero, below the freezing point, I have to use a windshield washer fluid. Topping off the gas is the next priority. I've gone and bought one of these gas filling wands. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. Takes a AA battery. You set down your gas can, stick the wand, which has a small pump, into the can, and then put the hose into your gas tank. I have extended the hose. You can see the clamp and the additional hose that I've put on mine. And it just makes for an easier filling up process, especially when you have to lift the gas can above your shoulders or above your hips. I converted a shelter logic shed that I had from a few years ago into my sawmill cover, and I removed one of the legs so that I can roll my logs onto the sawmill deck. The next item that needs some attention is the saw blade cabinet. To gain access, you undo the top latch, unscrew this knob, and then undo the two latches on the underside of the doors. This provides full access to the saw blade. So when you shut down the mill, you've got to take the tension off the blade. This is the tension handle. You have to torque it up to 25 pounds of pressure to torque. And when restarting the saw, you have to make sure your blade is set properly, so riding on the wheels correctly. As you can see right now, the tension is off this blade. So you get a check on both sides before you start to tension the wheel back up. See, I'll tighten it a little bit and double check how the blade is sitting on the wheels. So far so good. So I've got a torque wrench set at the 25 pounds and finish the tightening process until I hear the click. There it is right there. Once that's done, I will give the wheels a bit of a spin here. And if it's still sitting where I want it to be sitting and it's bang on, the saw is ready to go. So it's time to close up the hood again. Blade covers.
Doors together, and it's got a latch on that door, and a latch down here on this door. And as you can see, that's a pretty quick process.
I then uncover the saw deck. I'd already loaded up a log from the last time I was there, making it easier for me to get underway today. putting down the tarp on this side will help with cleanup later, because this is where all the sawdust ends up. Now I'm getting ready to start the engine. Again, today it's sub-zero. It's about -5 Celsius. I'll have to look that up in terms of what it is Fahrenheit. To start this engine, very straightforward. You put the choke on, put the fuel on, make sure the head is stable, then give it a good pull. Adjust the choke. That's the first time the motor's been running. Once the engine has warmed up, I start milling the log. The first pass, I just remove some very light layers. And I'm doing this because, again, I'm not so advanced at this yet. And in terms of some of the earlier logs that I milled back in the summer, I came to the conclusion that I was just taking off too thick pieces on the first pass. And when I go back and I look at those chunks of wood that I sawed off, there's a lot of waste of wood in there. So I started to go with thinner passes to begin with, and I end up with more boards that I can resaw. Resaw being that you take off the live edge on each end, and that I get, like I said, more boards out of that process than just these big chunks of wasted slabs that I cut up and either burn or give to one of my neighbors so they can use them in their wood system, their wood heating system. Once I've put a flat side to part of the log, I then rotate it 90 degrees, reclamp it, and I'm reclamping it up against these, I think they're called log dogs, which are vertical bars that you can't see down the side of the log there, which holds the log at a perfect 90-degree angle to the log deck now that I have the one flat side, and then continue with the milling. I have the footage here on fast forward because it takes a lot of time to show the milling of a board, rotating a log. And I do this because if I didn't, the videos would end up being 30 and 40 minutes long. So let me know if you want to see more of that, and I can slow things down and create videos that are just about milling logs.
are heavy, and thank goodness this is the last one. This is the last 6x6 that I need. I need 14 of them for my shed, not my shed, the garage that I'm building next summer. This summer, actually. I have 14 of them, but one of them's got rot that goes up about 2 to 3 feet into the post. I noticed that the other day. So I've had to cut this extra one, so now I have 14 good ones and probably about 8 feet of another post that's half decent. But the posts have to be a minimum of 11 feet, maybe 11 and a half feet for the build. Alright, let's move this sucker. Now I can do some resawing.
I want to resaw that 2x7 down to a 2x6, and then I have these boards that came off the logs as I was squaring them up into a cant. They're all roughly about 3/4 inches thick, but now I need to take off those live edges to make them into usable boards. I try to be as methodical as I can when I'm doing this work. It's not rocket science, but the old adage of measure twice, cut once really helps when you're doing this type of work. And despite my multiple measures, I still made a mistake, and you'll see it here in just a couple of seconds.
Measured it wrong. Well, that's very disappointing. I'd probably had half the life of that blade left, meaning I'd probably only done about 200 board feet on the blade. Maybe 250. And I wanted to cut this into 2x6, so nominally 2x6, actual 1.5 by 5.5. And instead of measuring 5.5 down at the other end there, I just measured 4.5. I'd set up my dogs to be under 5.5, and however they weren't below 4.5, so I've just run my saw into my aluminum dog, which is the bar, these vertical bars that holds the boards in these vertical positions, and just destroyed the blade. Blade, 20 bucks, half the life. So that's life. Maybe that's a good time to stop for lunch. A little bit early, but I'm going to break for lunch. Consolation, it is a beautiful day out here today. It must be close to 0 degrees Fahrenheit now. And that's a view heading towards the back acres here at the lot. As you can see, the sun's come out. Beautiful late winter day.
First thing after lunch, I throw on a new saw blade and get on with resawing those boards that I had put on the deck. Resetting the height of the saw, of course, and putting the dogs down a little lower so as not to replay the destruction of another blade. I finished the process by stacking the remaining lumber. I've got a 2x6 and several boards that came off the resaw process. I'm pretty pleased with this because remember, as I explained earlier, these are boards that I wouldn't have had I not been cutting off thinner pieces at the start of the process. Hey, this is the end of this video, As always, if you like what you see, please subscribe and hit that like button. And right here at the end of the video, you can see what I was able to cut today. These two top rows, which include several 2x4s, 4 4x4s, the 6x6, and a couple of 2x6s. It was a very productive day.